Hello, everyone. This is Yana Smakula for SimonsSTM.com. Welcome back for another Yippee For Yana episode. Today, I'm creating true one-layer cards. These are very easy to make. You don't need a lot of supplies for them, and they look fabulous. So here I have a new stamp set from Simon Says Stamp called Home for the Holidays. It is a beautifully illustrated set with a lot of stunning vintage images. I'm going to pair this with the new color of cardstock. This is Sage. It is absolutely gorgeous. It is such a beautiful muted green color. Love it. There are many different greens out there, most of which are grass green. This, however, is a very nice muted green color. I'm going to use this cardstock to create the card base for my card, and this is the only cardstock that I'm using today, so I'm not even going to use any white paper. I just used my paper trimmer and I cut this paper in half, so I'm going to create side folding card bases A2. Here I have a scoring board from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm going to score each panel at 4¼ inches. I'm going to have 3 cards for you today. I have already created one. I wanted to test my idea out, so I have one card that is already made, and I'm going to make 2 more using the cardstock that I just cut. I'm using the scoring tool that's included with the scoring board to crease the fold and burnish it. And our card bases are now ready. Next, I have my Mini Misty stamping tool, and I'm going to add the panel inside the Misty to do my stamping. Before I do that, I want to make sure that the card base is going to stay closed and shut. I don't want there to be any movement. I want this to be securely placed inside my Misty. So I'm creating little double-sided stickies using the Best Ever craft tape. With that done, I have placed the panel inside the Misty, and I'm going to align the images on the front of the card. I went to use this beautiful cabin in the woods with a Christmas tree and the snow in front of it, and I'm just going to squish it a little bit to the top because I want to have a slightly longer or a slightly bigger sentiment at the bottom. The sentiment reads, "It's the most wonderful time of the year." So once I have the images positioned, I'm closing the door of my Misty, and I'm going to use the VersaFine Clear ink. This is black ink to do my stamping. Trying to make sure that I press nice and hard to transfer the image onto the paper. And this looks good, but I do want to double stamp this to make sure I have the best possible impression. And since I have the Misty, I can easily do that. I did not realize at the time, but I ended up having an ink smudge on the lid of my Misty. I picked up that ink with my finger and I transferred that accidentally onto the card base. Never fear, that can be fixed, and I did fix it using a sanding eraser. It's not 100% perfect. If you look very closely, you can still kind of see that I erased the ink from there, but overall it looks really good and almost perfect. So just be careful and make sure you don't have any ink on your Misty or on your stamps or on your fingers so that you don't accidentally transfer that ink onto your card base. Here I'm stamping the second card using the same image, but this time I have a different sentiment. This reads, "Merry Christmas from our home to yours." Another beautiful sentiment. You can stamp just the Merry Christmas and then do the from our home to yours, either in a lighter ink, maybe like a dark gray, or stamp that on the inside of the card. That would also look beautiful. So with the stamping done, we can now start to add a little bit of coloring. This card is going to be simple, easy to replicate, easy to mass produce. We have a sage background, we have black stamping. Now we need to add a little bit of white highlights. Here I have a white pencil. This is by Faber-Castell. It's a polychromos colored pencil. I really love this brand of pencils and I use them a lot to add coloring to my cards. I particularly love to use these pencils on colored cardstock because they add a nice pop of color, a nice little bit of interest. I thought about using Copic markers, but I did not want the marker to bleed to the other side of my cardstock, and that is usually the case when you use alcohol markers. So pencils was the choice of the coloring medium for this project. So I'm using my white pencil. I'm holding it slightly on its side, I guess, and I'm just adding a little bit of color here and there to mimic snow. So I'm coloring the area under the tree, in front of the house, and under the fence, and also going to color the snow that is sitting on top of the window and on top of the door. And of course, the roof has a bit of snow, so coloring that too. For this card and the other card, I also decided to add snow under the letters, under the sentiment, to make it look like as if the sentiment is sitting in the snow. And you'll see me do that a little bit later. I also have a green pencil, actually 2 green pencils, a lighter one and a darker one, and I'm using both to add shading to the Christmas tree. So I'm adding some green under the branches, and this just helps add a little bit of extra color, a little bit of interest to this card. This image is very detailed. We have a lot of shading, a lot of detail lines, and you don't really need to do a whole lot of coloring here, just a little bit to make it pop and shine. You can, of course, color it completely if you wanted to. You can use brown for the cabin, add a little bit of gray to the fence, maybe use red for the chimney. So there's a lot you can do, but I wanted to do simple coloring that was easy to mass produce. Next, I'm using a white Jelly Roll pen, and I'm adding white dots around my image to create the look of snow. I'm trying to contain the dots in a rectangle around the focal point. You'll see that later once I'm done adding the dots. I don't want the dots everywhere. I'm just scattering them here and there, basically containing the image in a rectangle or framing it. You can add more if you wanted to. If you have a white paint, you can splatter the paint over this image, but I wanted this to have a very controlled look. So I used a pen and I just added those dots around the image. Here you can see, as I've zoomed out, you can see that this is contained in a rectangle or in a square. You can also use maybe an arch shape or a circle shape and contain your dots, contain your snow in that circle or in that arch. That will look really fun as well. So the coloring is done. You can see me adding the snow under the sentiment. It was an afterthought, but I think that looks really cool. You can also use a white pen and add snow over the letters, color over the black with a white pen. That looks fun as well, but I decided not to do that here. I just added the snow under the stamped letters. Now, our Christmas tree, of course, has ornaments, and I wanted to add some gems or some sparkle to the Christmas tree to decorate it a bit. I used the Spellbinders Color Essential Gems. The smallest gems fit the best for the Christmas tree. They created the perfect size ornaments for this tree. I used white ornaments for the original card that I made. Then for this card, I used silver ornaments. They sparkle so beautifully in the light. And then my last card features gold ornaments. They look beautifully as well. You can also use red ornaments, red gems to create red ornaments for the tree, or any other color that you like. I hope you will give this idea a try. It's a very simple card to make. You just need to use colored cardstock, black ink, and some colored pencils and a white pen to add a little bit of highlights to your image. Thanks so much for joining me today. Love you guys, and I will see you again next time.